Hey everybody, morning. So we have a great session today. So we have a Microsoft Power BI Advanced Concepts in a Common Data Model. This is a deep dive into CDM. Any one of you went yesterday to two of the other CDM sessions? Good, so this one will cover specifics of CDM proper. Not so much what is applicable for, but specifically what CDM really is. And then you're going to see all the concepts and overview all the specifics of CDM. So we have Oleg, the program manager, on stage with
Robert, I'm architect.
Robert,
on the common data model.
And Jeff Bernhardt.
Another architect.
Yes.
So they actually build it, and I have to explain how to use it. And so we're going to start today with actually a demo. And the main purpose today is to connect you to all the concepts that you learned yesterday about CDM, about how applicable it is from the Power BI all the way down to the apps, and then now connect it to actual usage of the CDM as a standard and as a language. Excited? That's what you came here for? I'll give it away to Mr. Robert.
Okay. So I would like to start with basically a quick motivating example of why you may want to care about the common data model. And so what I will show is ultimately, I will start with an insights application, which is a packaged application that gives you, I will use sales insights as an example. It gives you insights into your sales pipeline over, for example, over dynamics data directly. But then I will show how such an insights application could be built such that it can actually work decoupled from the data source. And so this is what you see kind of in the middle, this block here, which is, okay, how can you basically represent data in some of these standard entity shapes? And the Insights apps is making use of contacts, leads, opportunities, because it tries to show the sales pipeline and give you analytical insights out of the box, and how you can connect this to multiple sources. And so for that, I'll quickly switch over here. Right, this is the Sales Insights application. You can actually try it out yourself. You can basically just, without connecting it, there is demo, a demo data set that is associated with it. And so you get the idea that, right, the Insights application will show you certain key metrics, right, open revenue, open opportunities, and so on. But it calculates these things based on well-defined objects. Such as, right, what are the sales opportunities in the pipeline, at what stage are the particular opportunities. So these are all well-defined concepts that if you connect this to Dynamics 365, Dynamics 365 and the common data service underneath represents data that way. So the Insights app can easily bind to that data. And however, if you had another system and you wanted to leverage, right, the same concept where you build one BI application and you make it work over multiple different systems, and you can, right, represent the data in a common shape, common entities, then you can basically build a single application that can work over multiple systems here. And so in this particular case, right, this application was bound directly to a Dynamics data set. And so here, right, in my Power BI workspace, I ultimately have already prepared a data set that, right, was pulled from a common data service Dynamics environment. And if I look at it, I have a particular set of entities that I'm pulling here, right? So account, contact, lead, opportunities, opportunity stage, product, and so on, which allows me then to drive certain insights. So what if, right, I could do this in a similar way, right, over, I guess, another source of data. And so let me create a new data flow here, and really by basically creating new entities. And I could just bring in, right, data from different sources in the shape of the data, right, that it is without doing any changes to it. But that wouldn't allow that particular existing application to work and operate over that data. And so this is the Power Query Online experience hosted within Power BI Data Flows, right? You have connectivity to a variety of sources, but there's also this area of templates. And so templates are really pre-packaged sets of queries and transforms that go against particular data sources and make certain steps that maybe multiple steps along the way, package them up into ultimately a single operation. And so there is templates that are predefined and available for certain areas of dynamics, for example, to cover certain ranges like lead to cache and other scenarios. There's also this template here, which is basically connecting to Salesforce data. And I'll just quickly sign in here. Just takes a moment. And it validates the sign in. Okay. Still signing in. But basically, as soon as the sign in is completed, okay, I guess I didn't hit the button initially correctly. Oh, okay. Let's try this again. Maybe it timed out. Okay, this time it worked. Sorry about that. And so what happens here is that as I just initiate this template, what you can see on the left-hand side, and I'll zoom in, there's basically a predefined set of queries that ultimately runs against that particular account, right, your Salesforce deployment in this particular case, and defines a set of transforms of how it connects, right? And you can see the steps listed out on the right-hand side. So this is really no different than what you might do, right, using the Power Query experience, connecting to a source, visually transforming data, shaping the data the way you like. In this particular case, it's just something out of the box that gets started much more quickly. And then an important step, right, at each of these queries is it ultimately maps to a particular standard entity. And so in this particular case, that first query maps to the account entity. And the account entity in the common data model ultimately has a certain structure. And so what you can see is that basically this particular query maps certain fields that come right out of the Salesforce data source to some of these standard fields in the common data model. And so it doesn't map necessarily at the 100 plus 150 fields here, but it maps all the most important ones that then allow populating ultimately the data as it lands with those particular structures, which now the particular BI application can ultimately bind to and derive those insights from it. And so similarly, just like the account, there's these other areas. And so if I just hit save and close, I just use the template as is, and it maps to particular standard entities. Now as part of this step here, it validates against the particular deployment that all these transforms actually validate because you may have customizations in that source. So it validates all of these, and ultimately it produces an output, and I'll just call this Salesforce here, right? And the output, and let me kick off also the data refresh, right, produces the same entities that I had earlier shown that came out of Dynamics directly. And so now, if I close this here, right, in my particular workspace, I have two data flows. One of them is sourced from Dynamics. The other one is sourced from Salesforce. And if I, for example, use Power BI Desktop here, and I go to the Get Data experience, right, in Power BI Desktop, I can connect to various external data sources, but there's also new functionality that was introduced in recent months, which allows you to connect to either Power BI datasets or to Power BI data flows. And so I will use this particular option, and as I connect, you will see a couple of workspaces coming up. The one where I had those data flows was this particular demo workspace, and you can see in this particular area, right, it shows me the two data flows that I had created here. And if I look inside, ultimately I see that both of them materialize. Let me just scroll. Both of them materialize the same, right, data represented in those, in this particular case, right, specific common data model object forms. And so now I can build a BI application that really is, right, focused on, okay, I have accounts, I have opportunities, right? I want to build those insights, and ultimately can make it work over a variety, in this case, right, over those two particular sources of data. Now, this was just a quick, right, walkthrough of why you may want to care about some of these common data model entities. And also, of course, you can bring back your own data in your own shape. You can do this as well. You don't have to necessarily map it to standard entities. And so with that, I want to switch over. And we will basically dive deeper into, okay, what is happening behind the scenes, right? And how does this all work? And then go into some of these more advanced concepts. And for that, Oleg and Jeff.
Thank you, Robert. That was perfectly timed. He had exactly 10 minutes. He has 8 seconds left. That was
Exceeded
amazing.
by
Thank
6
you.
seconds.
Yes.
Well done. All right. Well, if Robert was my opening act, I'll say Oleg, he's going to be my hype man for this presentation. And hello,
I'll try
my
to
name-
impersonate a person who kind of knows what the programming is,
yes.
but is new to CDM, came to these 2 sessions, is super excited about it, just need to know what do I now use it for, and actually what it is physically, because you've seen how it's used, now you need to see what it is.
Right. And so, look, for the last year and a half or so, when people at work ask me what I'm doing, or people outside work ask me what I work on, I tell them, oh, I can't really tell you. And it's not because it's top secret, it's because I can't really explain it. And so this presentation, this is like the first time I've publicly talked about some of these things. I hope you understand this. it's been tough. Now, the
So
reason
he's so
it's
excited
tough-
about what he
yes,
does.
The reason it's tough is because we're going to talk about your data's metadatas, metadatas, metadata. Now, if that was not kind of interesting or funny to you, you might be in the wrong talk. If it was funny to you, I feel kind of bad for you, because to me it's hilarious, and I know how hard that's made my life. So we're going to first talk about the number one question about CDM. What is it, right? People, they hear all of this talk and they go, yeah, I heard all of that, but what is it? And the problem is it's really like 4 or 5 different things. The first thing, very practical. Robert, he just showed you this great demo of landing data in a data lake. He actually landed data twice in the data lake. And in that directory structure, there were a whole bunch of files that just contained partitions of data, files of data. And if you walked up to that, you would have no idea what this data was for, or what it means, or what files go together. And so one thing about CDM is that there's a special file in that folder. It's called model.json, and actually, sometimes I'm going to use the word folio because we're also going to talk about sort of the next steps for this model. So it's either a folio or a model.json. And what that file does is it tells you these are the entities that you should care about, and here is the schema for them, the various attributes or fields, if you will, and their data types. And it tells you where all of the data is for those, for that entity.
Yeah,
Right?
that's great, Jeff, but I can't have you in my company at all times. Is there a place I can actually learn about it or read about it?
I'm so glad you asked.
So great.
Yes. Let's, you want to switch?
Why do I have to switch? Okay.
Is there, yeah. So quick. That is the wrong button.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I
And,
mastered the button craft.
Exactly. So online, you can get to this through our GitHub site and through others. There's actually some pretty good documentation about this model.json file. It explains the whole schema of the file, the content, what it's for. Lots of details, actually, about what data types are allowed, how you can extend it, how you can annotate things. So you can see there's little examples in here, and here's how you do annotations. So it's actually pretty good documentation to get you started working with one of these files. But this is a 300-level course.
Yes,
So
yes.
let's
Switch.
actually look.
Yay.
Let's actually look at one of these files.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
exciting.
Ignore the security vulnerability error. That's not true. Okay. So here's an example. In this folder, we had an entity. This entity was called orders. And if you scroll down a little bit, so there's information that Power BI puts in there about when it was going to get refreshed. And then there's actually a description of every field. It's pretty simple at this point. It's just going to be the data type.
It has partitions.
And yeah, maybe some annotations. And then partitions. It's going to list all of the data files that line up with the shape of this data. And then this repeats. Towards the bottom of this file, there's actually a set of, it might not be in this one, but sometimes there's a set of relationships that explains how the different entities are linked together. Okay? Let's,
Yeah, it's not here.
So let's swap.
Yeah, let's swap back.
Okay. Whoops. That was that demo, and we're going to go right here. Okay, what else is CDM? CDM is also about these thing called, we call them standard entities. You saw Robert map to a standard entity to account. Well, these entities are defined on GitHub, and they're full of all kinds of semantic information about the shape of the entity and what attributes are in it and what those attributes mean and how everything is related to each other. And these are actually arranged into a bit of a hierarchy because sometimes we have entities that are reused by different applications.
But can I see them? You talk about them.
I know,
Can I see
again,
them?
I'm so happy you asked. Now,
Is it the right button? Yes.
Yes.
It's the right button.
the slide I forgot to show describes the CDM Entity Navigator. The text under it was a cautionary tale about UX design. The cautionary tale is, I put this together very, very fast, and I don't design UI.
Please don't give him a hard time about it. He loves it, so I have to deal with it.
Yeah, this is my first ever web app. So I put this together, and my assumption was, if I make it ugly, then the UX people will feel ashamed, and they'll actually fix it and make it beautiful. And it's been a year, and I haven't done that yet. So this is not a good strategy. But what this app can show you is all of the entities that are on our GitHub site, how they're related to each other.
Would you care to tell us why it lights up like a Christmas tree?
Sure, it just lit up like a Christmas tree, actually more like the Indian flag, I think. Because what Oleg did was he selected the contact entity.
In healthcare segment, we'll get to it just in a little bit. Why is it all of a sudden healthcare in the middle of this thing?
Right, because there was a healthcare accelerator done for CDM, and so they use the contact entity that's a part of CRM, but they add some things to it. Now, the colors are telling us anything that's got a green says I make a reference to that contact entity. There's a lot of relationships in the CRM system. And anything that's got the orange link is being linked to by the contact. And we can look at some interesting things, like if we scroll down past all of these standard attributes, you'll get to the extensions. Now, these are the things that the healthcare accelerator added. For instance, the deceased date.
He loves this part, but I'd like to be a little bit more optimistic, so we're going to go to a contact type.
Right, okay, well that's better. So contact type is something that they added that basically says, are you a patient, a practitioner, or somebody related to the system?
By the way, that shows you how extensible CDM is. Not only it gives you what are the attributes of what are the data types and what are the traits that we're going to visit a little later, but it also allows you to capture what are the values.
Right. And so out on our GitHub site, we have, what, 300, 350?
Let's push into 370.
Yeah, in this list of these entities that are from different domains. And so there's nonprofit, there's healthcare. Now we've recently added sort of the scheduling, the stuff that came out of some of the standard apps for dynamics, like scheduling and
yeah, and this is available online. It's not the internal site, so it's available on LinkedIn. From your decks, you'll have a link, and you can always explore it yourself. Now going back to, yay.
Okay. Also, CDM, it is a language, and we're going to dive into this a little bit later. This is just a diagram to explain some of these concepts. It's a JSON-based language that's used to describe these things, okay? And there's various ideas in this language. And to explain the whole foundation of this, first of all, it's also, there's code. I should have mentioned that. The navigator that we looked at is actually just running an object model that reads the documents and then interprets it and helps you navigate it. The biggest thing that maybe CDM is the effect. You know, I think James Phillips talked about this digital feedback loop and these self-reinforcing cycles. And an important idea about CDM is that if all of these apps and all of these tools can share schemas and share semantics, it's going to accelerate people's ability to use those apps or to build those apps and to share data.
Yep, you've seen those apps at work at the demos in previous 2 sessions. And this is basically what Jeff explains, what drives them to behave the way they do. So just a demo that Robert did quickly before that. So these are just reading entities, it's reading its metadata, reading in attributes, and figures out the data types and allows you to do the mapping.
Right. Now imagine somebody said to you, go create this. Go create the schemas that's going to empower this self-reinforcing cycle. And in fact, somebody did kind of say that to me. And what I realized was there's 2 approaches. Right? One is let's go schema first. Let's design the most perfect entities we can. We'll say that there is a person and there is an employee. And an employee is a person. And we'll create some nice inheritance between them. And perhaps there's a sales lead who's also a person. And if I want to know, is this sales lead also an employee? Well, these are the same entity under the covers, and I can easily compare them, and the world is beautiful. Yes? And so all of your effort would go into creating these perfectly shaped, factored entities. But sadly, there would be no data that actually matches the shape of those things. And, you know, data is important. So the other approach is to go data first. Yeah? Let's look at the data that people are actually going to have. The people that are building these apps, what do they have? Start with that. And describe it. But sadly, those schemas are really ugly because they evolved over time. You know, people added features, they reused fields, and they did things wrong. And the schemas are kind of ugly, and they have odd names, and they have all, you guys know, you build these things. They look bad after a while. And so now I have this problem because if I want to know is this employee the same as the sales lead, it's really hard to do. But if I could tag these concepts, if I could say that e-name in employee and full name in sales lead, they mean the same idea. I promise you, these things mean the full name of a human person. And if I could promise you that cell phone and contact phone, they're phone numbers. These are, you could dial them up and call this person. These are really important sort of binding ideas. And if I had a large set of these, then I could actually match schemas together, even if they don't have the same names or the same order or the same data types even. So this was this concept that got mentioned was traits. And what happens when you do it this way is you spend a lot of time figuring out how to describe the metadata for non-ideal entities, for real-world things. So let's talk about traits. You know, I'm a person. I have traits. So as a person, you know, you speak probably, or in some way communicate. You have an age. For a human, the ages are probably between like 0 and 120. Sort of these are concepts of metadata about a person, right? And this is this notion we call a trait. And traits they're really like metadata's metadata, okay? So they're the semantic meaning of a piece of metadata can be expressed with a trait. Some sort of structural guidance can be expressed with a trait. We want to use them to explain like hierarchies that occur in data. We want to use them to explain minimum and maximum values, but also things like you can figure out what generation somebody is from by looking at their age, for instance.
Would you like people to see what it looks like?
Let's see. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I
Now
know
with
it.
traits.
Yes.
Okay.
I got to click a button and show some stuff too.
Okay. So actually, this navigator has a mechanism to show you the traits. We're going to look at this contact. If you just click on traits for
Yeah,
contact.
so we need to trait for contact,
Well,
or you
can
want
show
to
traits
go?
you can show traits for contact real quick.
Okay.
Yes. There's a whole bunch of traits for contact, but if we go to...
Address.
Yes,
city.
address.
See, you made me go away from
Oh,
it.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay, so the address 3 city field has a trait that says means location city.
This one.
Oh, what is that? Yeah? Let's go and look at the definition. You might want to zoom in on that a little bit. Okay. So this is the, well, don't,
It
yeah,
doesn't
don't
do-
zoom in. Use the zoom in.
The zoom in, the zoom in
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the actual JSON definition for that particular attribute using this CDM language, if you will. And you can see that it has a data type called city. Well, click city. City is defined, again, in JSON as a data type that's an extension of strings, but it means a city. So if we click on that, we go to the definition of the trait. And the trait says that the meaning of city, it's an extension of the idea of a location. Now, what does that mean? It means that if I wanted to find any of the attributes or fields in my data set that were about the location of something, and I searched for that, I would find city. I would also find zip code and others. Any of the things that have traits that are based on location, you could find them. But it also specifically means that it's a city.
Yeah, so this is super powerful one concept. It's not only for people to look at the Entity Explorer and study those, but think of a computer-involved scenarios. When the computer program, be it AI, be it machine learning, be it any other data processing, would be aware of those traits and would be not guessing based on value of the data, but will definitively know what each of that data set means. So that becomes a very powerful semantic, and it can be carried throughout all your pipelines. So you don't have to lose the semantic as you interrupt data between different subsets. Okay, so the traits are they're super cool.
Super cool.
Yes.
Okay, let's switch.
Yay.
Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about this language a little bit. I'll give you a high-level picture of it. First, there's a thing called a trait that we just mentioned. Traits can have an inheritance hierarchy so that semantic values can sort of build into trees, and they can have parameters, like a function call with a data type. And it's just a way of storing extra information with a trait. We have these other two ideas. One's called a data type, and one's called a purpose. And really, these are just bags of traits. It's just if I have a set of traits that I want to use over and over again, I can put it into a data type, like we did with city, and then it's just very convenient to use. I'll just say city, city, city. And the purpose is kind of a special one. It's why is this attribute in the entity? Why is it here? And sometimes there's actually semantic information about why it's there or what purpose it serves. Maybe it's the unique identifier. Maybe it's the thing you should sort by default. Or maybe it's the text that you should show as a summary if you ever are going to show one record for this thing. And we wanted to make it this general idea that there are certain fields that have purposes, this sort of a standard set of purposes that they can serve. So we don't have to worry about trying to find them a different way. We use traits. Okay.
Click, yes.
Yes, go ahead. All right. Now, another little thing we did was it's called an attribute group. I'm kind of building these things up from the bottom. An attribute group is, what did I say? It's like defining a macro in C. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Who's programmed in C? Come on. Anyone? Oh,
Excel,
I'm so
Excel.
happy.
There is also macro.
Okay. Anyway, it's like defining a macro. It's just kind of like a way of saying copy and paste. I've got a set of attributes that I use over and over again. and I just want to have one word to refer to them. It's a way of grouping them.
By the way, do we have to use only things defined by you?
No, of course not, of course not. We defined a standard set, and there's just a set of files that are out on GitHub that explain all of the sort of basic, data types and concepts. But because these are just JSON documents, if you're creating your own entity, you can create your own data types and your own traits, and that.
As long as I observe the rules of grammar.
Yeah, you follow the rules of grammar. And in fact, if you created your own trait for a special kind of location, the outer space location trait, as long as you extended from location, it would still be one of the location traits, even though it was your special meaning just for you. Okay, so the workhorse here is this thing called an entity, the blue thing. An entity is a collection of attributes. Now, an entity can have some traits, of course. It can exhibit a set of traits, and it has a collection of attributes. Attributes are a data type, I used the word relationship here, sorry, a purpose, a data type, and a name. That's kind of all it really is. There's a bunch of traits and a name that explains what this attribute is. There, I fixed it on there. So this is where I explain what purpose is, right? Like sorted by, named by, the location of. The location of this object is indicated by this particular column, for instance. Now here's where it gets a little nutty. An attribute of an entity can in fact be another entity. So it's hierarchical.
So it means that I can define a way I look at the address and then as entity and then use that address in a contact entity.
Exactly. You can just take the address and stick it in some other object, and then it gets an address. And in a way, it's treated like a complex data type, right? I can sort of build up complex data types and then reuse them. It also is a way to signal foreign key relationships. So if I have a foreign key relationship to another table, I use this mechanism to indicate it.
It's like account and person and orders and contacts.
Is there any question you want to ask me?
You already answered that question. So I think the question that is on most people's mind is that you keep referring to things that you can use to define your own. But what is the base of those things? What are the things that the folks need to use to build their custom data types or their custom traits? Like, for example, means outer space location city, but there is, if you click enough, it's going to get to location.
Yes.
Is that list available for them to look at?
Sure, and that list is on GitHub. We have a set of 3 files. There's one called primitives, one called meanings that's got a whole bunch of these semantic meanings, and then one called foundations that's about a little more complicated ideas.
So basically, it's the same going back to your C analogy. These are kind of what we used to call the header files or definitions. So these are the things you can derive from and build on. So you're not forced to only use what we shipped in standard entities. You can use them as reference points. You can extend them. You can reuse them straight out of the box. But if you want to build uniquely your own, as long as you observe the rules of grammar so the rest of the tools understand it, and you use the same primitives, you'll be basically creating your own entities. So it's, again, CDM is a language. It's not a server. It's not a service. It's not a software per se. It's the standard by which you can define metadata in a very extensive way. But there are still few certain rules that you have to play by. And the only reason is, if you want the rest of the ecosystem understand it, that will be great for you. Okay?
Now, what I wanted to drill down onto was this foreign key reference part. There we are. So I'm going to show you 3 ways that you could think about storing the same kind of data. So imagine we had an entity that was called New Small Businesses, right? It's got the founding date and the ID of the owner who started the small business. And then the ID of the owner is a reference to a person, right? So that's the very traditional sort of relational system. I could also just flatten this data out, right? I could say well, I'm going to take this person and I'm going to stick it in line, so I don't need the key necessarily, the owner ID, but I could have it there. I'll have a string and I'll have the birth date for the person, and I'll just stick it in with the small business. That's done often as well. Or maybe I want to nest it. I'm going to use like a JSON document to store my data, or a Parquet file, or something that's got a hierarchy to it. So what I want is actually an object that's sort of embedded inside the small business.
So
Now,
I have a choice.
well, yeah, and the truth is that those three concepts could be derived from one true idea, right? The true idea would be that there is a person and then there is a small business. And in fact, to make it a little more complicated, I said a small business is an extension of a normal business. And what it does is it adds this owner field, right? So in fact, this entities can have inheritance. This entity extends business and adds things to it. And so all three of these layouts are true based on this very sort of abstract picture I drew. And, we'll put traits on things to give you some hints. But if I wanted to actually figure out what my data looks like, going through this thing is hard. Like, I would have to go look at the abstract definition of a small business and then go back to the base class of business, and then I would have to figure out what those traits are and what these traits are, and blah. Nobody's going to do that. And so one thing that our object model does is it just boils all of that out for you. The word I use is resolving. Oleg hates the word resolving, but
No, there's nothing wrong with the word. To me, it's more like a compile.
Yeah.
So it basically takes all the definitions and creates an instance of the CDM entity using the definitions of the logical schemas.
right. So here we resolved it, and when we resolved it, there's a hint you can give that says, I really want to have a relational shape. And so what it will do is avoid the fact that there's a person, or did I do that? Oh, never mind, I flattened it out, sorry. I changed my example. This is the version where I flattened it out. So it adds all of the fields from the other entity, and it takes the person things and it puts them directly in line.
So it makes it one long
Yes.
table.
Okay. Now,
Oh, the folio is my
the
favorite.
folios,
thing,
yes. We're going to talk about the future because, so we have this object model for model.json, and we have this object model for the standard entities. And what became very quickly apparent is that you want to use these together. That you want your very, very concrete picture of the layout of your data to be based on these standards. And that people want to create their own standards and use them. And that you actually want the traits, for instance, in the semantic model to make it down into the description of the data that's sitting in your lake. And so what we're doing is combining these together in this new idea called a folio. And so the basic idea of a folio, it's a lot like that model.json file. We did some things to optimize the layout of it. So one of the problems with model.json was it put all of the schema information in one file, which could be giant. It could be this enormous file when you're done. And it became hard to manage. So we actually just made like an indirection. We'll point you at a different file. The different file that you point at should be one of those resolved entities I talked about a minute ago. The very easy to understand, concrete, flattened out description of this entity. So it's very close to what was in model.json. And again, it supports a description of data partitions. It supports a description of relationships. But it also has subfolders. So you can create a hierarchy of solutions, if you need to, with references between them. So it's very similar to model.json. It's got some great new features.
Makes it easier to manage.
Yeah.
Probably because you're not, again, looking at one very long JSON file and trying to find where your order entity is. You have a separate order.cdm.json file that actually describes that logical resolved, going back to that terminology, entity. So it's actually an instance of the entity.
Right, and one of the nice things that this object model does is you create a folio and you can just point it at a bunch of the abstract definitions. They could be in various locations. They could be our GitHub definitions or local ones that you've created. And there's an API call that's basically make it real. It'll turn it into this very concrete description of data that's actually in a set of partitions. It just does it for you. And what I wanted to talk about was another feature. It's called partition patterns, because one thing we learned was people said, well, you know, model.json is great. I have an entry for every partition. What if I'm adding 10,000 partitions per day? Do I actually have to go and add 10,000 partition items into this file? That's hard. Keep that up to date. Also, when you have that situation where you have 10,000 partitions per day, often there's some kind of structure to the layout of that data. There's maybe a folder hierarchy. Maybe you go like year, month, day, for instance. And within the day, maybe you break down the files and you actually encode information in the name of the file, like some group of customers or something, you know, the alphabetical sorting, for instance. So what we created was this thing called a partition pattern. Basically, it takes a regular expression and it will search for any files that happen to match that regular expression and automatically create partition objects for you. And then actually it tells you what the sort of replacement arguments were that it found. So if you want to know what year or what month, what day, it can describe that for you. Okay. And I think we are getting really close to the end. See? We went through this fast. Okay, so this is the end almost. And I say almost because...
Yes, because there is a call to action, and we wanted to have enough time for Q&A in this session. Yeah. So that's why we kind of try to be quick on this one. This is a call to action, so what you can do with this is just to follow the links on this slide, and you use the Power BI. That's the session that Robert had shown you. That would help you get there. Then the metadata language and all the entities, all the content that we've shown today is available on that link. There is also an Azure Data Lake CDM tutorial that actually helps you bring it into reality with the data lake being the place where you create the CDM folders. And you can also go explore the Entity Navigator, that beautiful tool that Jeff wrote that has all this lighten up rectangles that will help you understand what is the idea behind the relationships between CDM entities and what do they look like. And you can explore entities themselves at the GitHub. These are, again, this isn't a restrictive set. In other words, use these or else. This is for your use. This is for your reference. And those entities are largely derived from the D365. So you'll see things there that you'd recognize if you know D365, specifically CRM. But use them as the good reference point. So that'd be actually pretty cool to do. And we'll be keeping folks posted on upcoming releases of the new the object model that we're working on. That's what Jeff was referring to.
Now, we have lots of time for questions. So there's been 3 or 4 sessions on CDM so far.
Yes.
Yeah, you got the people here that can answer them. So any questions on either this content or things you've seen previously about CDM?
Yeah. And we wanted to kind of make up a little bit for rushing you out of the door on previous sessions because we were very time constrained. So this is your opportunity. I see microphone stands, only one microphone. There's a stand without the mic. It's fairly quiet, so you just stand up and speak up. Questions? Yes.
Is the partition pattern stuff ready today? On my computer it is. But
That's the reference to stay tuned for the new release.
yes, it's really, really, really close. We're testing it. We're spending time writing documentation before we sort of put it out on GitHub, because I don't want to just dump it on everyone without some docs. And
Oh, he'd love to. I won't let him.
yeah.
So. Yes.
Does CDM only work on Gen 2 data lake?
So on that one, CDM is implemented by the Common Data Service, so it's just an integral part of the Common Data Service. CDM is also the description language that is used when data is stored in a data lake, and so it's used, for example, through Power BI, through the Azure Data Service, and it's all implicit basically by integrating in those services. And so in this case, what you find, if you look in your data lake storage account, you will find these particular CDM metadata files that describe your data, and there's different services that implement this today, and we're working on extending that busy set of services. As it is today, it's not directly dependent on Azure Data Lake Gen 2, but there's an ecosystem of services that basically we have been building on that just makes it effortless to services by landing the data, as well as services consuming the data from the data lake. Yeah, so the question was, is it easier if you had Gen 2? Yes. Any other questions? We do have microphones in the room, but we can also take them just from the audience.
No?
Oh.
What's the process for ingestion? So if you're coming from like an Oracle ERP system, agile e-commerce system that has accounts across those, are you saying that you ingest through like ADF-V2, or what's the ingestion pattern into CD?
So question was, right, if you have different systems, you mentioned Oracle, you mentioned Agile, what are the ingestion patterns? There's actually multiple of them. So there is Power BI data flows, which I only briefly showed, right, which is one way of how you can connect to a certain set of sources, and without writing code, right, and just graphically transform, and ultimately Power BI data flows will automatically land the data in your data lake storage. That is one part. Azure Data Factory is another option. Azure Data Factory has connectivity to lots of different sources, and there's a library that is publicly available, and this is part of the tutorial that is also publicly available that you can follow yourself with your own data, where how you can use Azure Data Factory to basically land the data that comes in, not just as raw data, but actually described as CDM folders with metadata. Then there is partner solutions. So Informatica recently released their support for CDM folders. And so in that case, right, the connectivity that Informatica has would do that as well.
So ADF-V2 has support for CDM folders?
So ADF-V2 ultimately has support for CDM folders through an add-on library. So basically, we have the links to the blog that basically points it to a GitHub repository where this add-on library exists today. What we're working on is to make this built-in functionality in ADF directly in a future version where you don't need this add-on library. It just is all built in and just working similar to how in Power BI data flows. You don't have to worry about anything extra. It just works out of the box. Another gentleman back there. The question is, any plans to create templates for insurance?
Accelerator.
So there is I think this afternoon, there's a session regarding CDM and industry accelerators. So in that session, they will basically cover some of these particular industry-focused extensions. Some of them are already public, around healthcare, nonprofit, and so on. So I think it's the session at 2:15.
Yeah, that's
at
the session
bottom.
right at the bottom. You can
Yeah.
look at this one.
So there's already several of them available. For the financial services industry, there is certain subsegments that are in the works right now around retail banking. Insurance is a subsegment that we are looking at of actually doing work in the next few months. So we haven't started yet, but we're actively exploring that area. And in that session at 2:15, there are folks, and I think you would have to look it up through, I think the session codes are mentioned there. So you can look it up for the app on the session locations.
More questions?
You could get 10 minutes for free. Oh, yeah.
What do you mean 10 minutes for free? I still don't get it, folks.
The business, and I'm not saying that, give business access to data flow, and they start messing with all your CDM stuff, and CDM is your source, right, like an ODS for all your data marts seems like Microsoft has so many ETL tools now. It's got Dataflow, AFD2, Flow could sometimes be seen as that, Databricks, Delta, like, so I'm kind of confused on that perspective.
Okay, so repeating and summarizing the question, right? It seems, right, you're saying there's a set of tools that Microsoft offers of how to do data connectivity, data integration, and then also I think there was a part to it where you wondered, right, if customers or everybody in the organization can basically define their own entities, right, is it going to create some complexity? So let me tackle, and failures. So let me tackle those two separately. On the set of data integration services that exist, we actually, so there is Power BI data flows, right, really targeted at business analysts, how you can do really self-service, right, data connectivity, data transformations, put the power into the business analysts that are closest to the business, right, and working out their particular answers to questions. Now, in some cases, right, the business analyst needs to do more. They need to collaborate with a data engineer, data scientist. And so this is where actually CDM folders come in because they enable that interoperability across these services. So now, right, a business analyst starting in Power BI can basically just share what they have created, not just raw data, because there's metadata going with it, with a data engineer that uses Databricks to do large-scale distributed processing, and there's actually metadata that flows through. And the result of Databricks is, again, a CDM folder that now is enriched data with metadata that the Power BI analyst can simply connect to and pick up. And we actually showed this kind of flow in a session yesterday, like with detailed step-by-step of, okay, how you go from Power BI to Databricks and how, after you've done with enrichment, you go back to Power BI. When it comes to ADF, you may have seen recently, or maybe you haven't seen it yet, there's a new data wrangling experience, which basically embeds the same graphical transformation experience with Power Query Online directly into Azure Data Factory. So you can also now use basically the same Power Query experience that exists in Power BI data flows as part of Azure Data Factory. So you're actually you're basically trying to also align user experiences, even if you're a data engineer, right, and your favorite tool is Azure Data Factory and Databricks and all those tools, we actually want to give you the same, right, I guess, accelerators and user experiences that you can also use as an analyst. And at the same time, regardless of the user experience you use, the data and how it's stored underneath, we actually attach metadata that is interoperable across these services.
And so do you suggest using different environments? Like the analysts
Yeah.
work in their own environment, and in the production environment, it's at scale, it's brought in.
Yes. So the question was, right, what is the suggestion, right, of how to kind of organize then that collaboration? And so in Power BI, you saw there's this notion of workspaces, and workspaces is, right, a way of how you organize a group of people collaborating together. Now, when the data lands in the data lake, it's organized in folder structures. And in the data lake, you can basically manage access of who has read access versus who actually, right, can create new content. You can manage this also at a fine-grained level with Azure Data Lake Gen 2. So it has basically ACLing, so you can do access control at a fine-grained level. And so at that point, yes, you can have, right, a overall process where you have your analysts, right, operating, bringing certain data. You have your data engineers, right, doing further processing, landing the enriched data in a well-defined location that may be also more broadly accessible, from which, right, this is the more approved set of data from which you can then also register these particular locations and those folders directly back into Power BI workspaces, so that analyst doesn't have to go and find the data lake. It's basically somebody just explicitly registers, here's the output out of all my Databricks jobs, out of Azure Machine Learning, and just through UI, you register this in Power BI, and so now you share the workspace in Power BI with your audience of analysts that just consume the results. So we are basically building out this functionality across services, and what I just explained is already available today. We didn't show it here today, but we had other sessions where we briefly showed how do you attach the output in the data lake that you produced with Databricks into a workspace in Power BI. So from a business analyst perspective, it is just a folder, doesn't matter how it was created, it's there, I can drive my insights from there. And it's all ultimately connected through CDM folders that basically describe data and metadata.
So CDM is your common metadata definition that can float across, and it's basically there is no universal answer to the question. There is a guidance on how you use its security and governance within your company because you may have different policies. For as long as you use CDM to express metadata across your environments, you find from a definition perspective, CDM doesn't enforce the security model. In other words, we don't say that if an entity is called customer, you can only place it here or ACL it in a specific way versus creating an app ID. So it gives you the same ability to work within your governance and security systems. It was a question. Yes?
Power BI's got a feature for Ask a Question, which requires a data dictionary and JSON file to describe traits of. You all integrated with that?
Not yet. But I have great hope for it. In fact, that was one of the exact use cases I had in mind. Excuse me, when we talked about traits, especially that thing I called a purpose. The reason I made that was because I knew that if I was going to do some sort of AI or linguistic semantics, there is a purpose for things to be a part of other things, and I needed a place to capture that.
Yeah, because otherwise you can't train the model.
So we are definitely going to work with them and try to standardize some of the linguistic
Traits,
meanings
yes.
for things so that they can be shared. So you only have to put them in one time, you know, in a standard, but then also extend it with your specific meanings.
Yeah, this goes back into, are we defining an ultimate set of traits or definitions that you have to use, or you can use your own? So we need to get the list of standard and the things that you can derive from, and then you can extend, customize. But we can't build awareness of your future definitions into tools now, so that's the caveat.
So one quick follow-up on that, right? The example I showed at the very beginning of the session, the sales insights application, I didn't show it explicitly. There's actually a question box at the top integrated into that application. That particular question box is not the regular Q&A experience that you may be familiar with from Power BI. It is actually an enhanced version, and that enhanced version takes advantage of some of this explicit semantic metadata. Now, we have been, right, we are starting with, okay, making this available in the context of sales insights. But what you will see is we will make more and more of that available in a broader way, where it will benefit from the specific semantic descriptions and basically enable a much richer understanding of the data in a more, I would say, in a more standardized form. And this would, in that case, go beyond Power BI Q&A, as you know it today.
And it's going to be out of the box. So the key value for it is that all the D365 apps and all the other apps, if they can express their entities in a CDM form, then out of the box, you already have certain scenarios for sales insights, for Q&A, for customer insights. So you don't have to do this massive ETL mapping process because it's already built into two endpoints that both understand CDM. So that's the value of it. So if you participate in that ecosystem, or you bring the signal, another power of it, which we didn't specifically touch on, but when you bring the signal back into the apps, for example, you have your D365 app or whatever other apps you have, then you processed it, you derived some insight, there is a credit score, or there is some sentiment, you need to bring it back so you, like ERP or line of business app is ultimately aware of it, that if you use CDM, you don't just dump it randomly into the database. You know exactly which attribute to write it to. So that's another very important benefit of CDM. So it kind of allows you to interop data. It's not only analytics and reporting and processing, it's also interoperability and out-of-the-box semantics for the business apps.
Okay,
We're running out of time, Robert, so
yep.
Go
We're still around for a few more minutes.
It's lunch and there's a booth, so
Yeah,
you can
thank you,
stop by
everyone.
the booth. Yay. It's the CDM fans, that's great to see.